AITA for being racist over a baby name? I'm not a native English speaker, so apologies for the grammar spelling. Also, the situation happened not in the US UK. I live in Russia, to be more precise, in Nakotka city in the eastern part of the country. My sister, 22 years old, is dating a guy from Japan and she got pregnant. They're planning to raise the baby in Russia as her boyfriend. Boyfriend is working with a Russian company and eventually moved to Moscow. They decided to give the kid a traditional Japanese name, which in Russia and probably in the most parts of the Western world is associated with a car brand. I'm in no way biased against Japanese culture or names, but I think it would be weird for a kid to live with a name that instantly reminds people of a car. When my sister disclosed the name, I politely confronted her and said that the name is too unusual and not very appropriate for our culture. I explicitly said I have nothing against Japanese names. I personally think that any other name would be just perfect as long as it has no Cars food references. She lost it, called me a racist and told me to not whitewash her future baby. As I said before, I have absolutely nothing against her husband and her baby. I personally think Japanese names are beautiful and she could have chosen a very beautiful name for her future kid. I also said her kid will be already a target of bullying as she will be a mixed kid in a predominantly white part of the country. The thing is, I myself share the name with a car brand popular in Russia and I've been picked at because of it all through the school. When I brought up this fact, she said that I overreacted and I'm a projecting racist. AITA for calling my daughter-in-law's parents deadbeats and not stepping down in my place at her wedding. When my son, Josh, was 16, he and his girlfriend, Chloe, told my wife and I that they were expecting a baby. We were reasonably concerned and upset, but supported the two in whatever they wanted to do. They decided they wanted to keep the baby. Chloe's parents were not supportive at all and kicked her out of the house. We had her move in with us. My wife and I developed a close bond with her as we helped her prepare for the baby. After the birth of their daughter, Bryn, Chloe and Josh lived with us until they were 22. As they were so young, we really helped a lot those first few years as they got their GEDs, went to trade school, etc. It was not an easy road in the slightest, but it made us all closer. I consider Chloe the daughter I never had. They are now 25 and Bryn is 9. Last year, Chloe's parents got in contact with her and said that they were sorry, they wanted to be in their lives, etc. Josh and Chloe chose to hesitantly let them in their daughter's life. They have definitely played the part of overcompensating grandparents, who try to pretend no time has passed. Bryn is healthy, safe and loved, that's all that matters. They have been standoffish with my wife and I feel they are jealous and maybe insecure when it comes to how close we are to Chloe and Bryn. We've tried to arrange for times to talk, outings where all four of us can be with Bryn, etc. They always rebuff. So, we've settled to be polite and kind, getting along with them for Bryn, Chloe and Josh's benefit. Chloe and Josh have recently announced they're getting married. She asked me to walk her down the aisle. She explained that while her dad is too, she'd love to have her other dad with her. I was touched. She has called me Papa Sam for a while now and my wife, Mama Carol, but I still didn't expect this. I accepted. Now, Chloe's dad is refusing to walk her down the aisle because I will. He says that I am encroaching on a precious moment between him and his daughter. I said so long as Chloe wants me to walk her, I will. Chloe has said she doesn't want me to step down, but also wants her dad there. I've said I'll support what she wants. She's remained firm that she wants to try to find a way to get her dad on board so we'll both walk her. Chloe's mom said I should step down, because of course Chloe won't ask me to. I made a comment about how then I'd be just as much of a deadbeat as they were for so long. This pissed her and her husband off. My wife feels I've fueled this drama and I should just step down so Chloe can have both her parents there. I've said until Chloe asks me to step down, I won't. AITA for eating at the children I babysit for's house. I 20F babysit for some extra cash on the side. This just happened and it's eating me up, so here we go. So, the family ordered pizza for dinner. Mom left cash on the table for me to pay. It was me and two boys 7 and 10 large cheese pizza and breadsticks. I have always been under the impression that the babysitter is allowed to have a reasonable amount of dinner if they're expected to serve dinner. I've babysat a few times in the past and have never encountered this. When the parents came home to relieve me, they asked how tonight went. I said fine, and said that the pizza place was really good as I had never ordered from there before. Mom looked at me puzzled, and asked why I ate the kids' dinner. I said I just had 2 pieces of pizza and a breadstick. I feel as if this was not an inappropriate amount to eat. However, the parents disagreed. Dad said that they didn't expect to have to feed me dinner as well, and told me not to eat their family's food. Overall, I am very uncomfortable and confused by this experience. Both boys were fed, and did not complain about being hungry for the rest of the night. I personally have always assumed perhaps wrongly, that if I am expected to serve dinner as a sitter, then I am welcome to have a serving. Is this something anyone else has experienced? AITA? AITA for giving my granddaughter a DNA test. This is about my granddaughter Lindsay. Now Lindsay 15 has it rough being middle child, and she looks different from her siblings. I truly was confused how she had blonde curly hair while the rest of the family has dark hair. I thought genetics was being weird, and I love her. The issue came up when Lindsay told me her parents banned her from getting an ancestry test. I told my son and Dill that there was something fishy around her birth she needs to know. They denied it and told me to leave it alone. Now Lindsay is in high school and she went to her biology teacher. To put it bluntly, the teacher said it was odd for her to have some traits. She came to me distressed, asking me to buy a DNA test since she needs to know. Long story short, she is not her mother's kid. My son got someone else pregnant and her bio mom gave her up. This has blown up the family while Lindsay is pissed to being lied to. I am getting a ton of heat for getting her a DNA test. Now they won't talk to me, which is making Lindsay even more mad at them. Because I have answered this multiple times. They were on the other side of the country when she was born, and I met Lindsay when she was about 6 months old. Really not hard to hide the whole thing. I am confused why a lot of Redditors are treating this like she is 5 and not 15. All I did was buy it. She did all the paperwork and shipped it. It's not hard. AITA for leaving my sister-in-law's house without my wife. My wife and I are in our mid-30s, and we've been together for 8 years, married for 4. We're both from California. My wife's only sibling is her sister, who recently moved back to California from Virginia. My wife's sister, her husband, their 3 kids live about an hour away. It's easier for my wife to visit them than the other way around because they'd be lugging around 3 kids while we don't have any kids yet. So my wife typically visits them 1-2 times a week for weekday dinner or a shopping trip on the weekend. I join every 3 weeks or so for dinner. I have zero problem with my sister-in-law and her family. They're good people, and if anything, I'm glad my wife has her best friend so close by. So for context, my entire life I've always had really bad colds. Getting the flu? Annoying but not horrible. 4-10 levels of discomfort. COVID? My bout wasn't too bad. Maybe 4, 5, 10. But my yearly cold? 8, 5, 10. My body just shuts down for 4-5 days. My wife and closest people in my life, siblings, parents, some lifelong friends, have known about this, and everyone always thought I was the type to exaggerate about illness in general until I got the flu and COVID back-to-back years and hardly made a peep. They all expressed afterwards that they now realize how bad my colds are. The incident is this: yesterday my wife and I went to my sister-in-law's house for dinner. When we got there, the 3 kids all had colds, coughing, runny noses, sore throats, fatigue, all of it. I immediately panicked internally and thought, damn it, here we go, and thought that I'd try my best to stay away from the kids. Then I hear my wife say something along the lines of, "Oh honey, I know you're sick. Your mama has been telling me about it all week," to her niece. That really pissed me off. My wife knew the kids were sick and knows how horrible it is for me when I'm sick, but she didn't bother to tell me. I pulled her to the side for a second and she basically said, "Listen, just don't get near the kids. I didn't tell you because I knew you wouldn't come and it'd kill the vibe. Relax. I'm sure they're not contagious. Now enjoy the night," and walked away. It's not even the fact that the kids are sick, but the fact that 1, she purposely didn't tell me, and 2, she was shutting me down. So I got the keys and left. I know my sister-in-law and her husband well enough to know they'd drop my wife back at home, but I was just seeing red and way too angry to have stayed. I woke up this morning and my wife is freaking pissed. My sister-in-law's husband is even more annoyed than my sister-in-law. He's saying I'm a pathetic person to leave my wife and take the car. AITA for limiting my daughter's access to her money based on what her siblings earn. My 48M daughter 15F has gathered some following on social media and started to get approached by some brands to promote their products. I don't know the first thing about this digital influencer culture, but I like that she's happy creating her content. We went through a family tragedy when my first wife passed away 3 years ago, and I believe the dedication to her channels had a major positive impact on my daughter in a difficult time in her life. Anyway, whenever a company approaches her, I help the best way I can, going over the terms and conditions of contracts and so on. One thing that surprised me, though, is that some of those offers involve serious money. So I told my daughter from day one that I will put it all away for her so she can access her money when she turns 18. My view is that, for as long as she's a minor and unable to make more informed financial decisions, she should get by on her allowance, just as my other 2 children do. She was fine with this at first, but lately, she started asking me for more of her money. She pointed out that I allow my other daughter to keep and spend the earnings from her babysitting gigs. It's a ridiculous comparison because a teen having some pocket money from babysitting as a compliment to their allowance doesn't even begin to compare to the kind of money my other daughter is making now. But it's a fair point, and I gave her that. So I told her that we can use this as a reference. We could take an average of what her sister was earning with babysitting, or what her brother was earning flipping burgers in the fast food industry, or what most teenagers would realistically be expected to earn in this phase of life. I said I'd agree to take a similar amount from her earnings every month so she could complement her allowance, but the bulk of it would still be put away until she turns 18. She thought I wasn't taking her seriously to propose something like that. So, was this a nice move on my part? AITA for not allowing my parents to see their grandchild when mother-in-law with stage 4 cancer is visiting from out of town. Context: my wife 33F and I 34M have a daughter too, 5Y, and we have recently been blessed with another daughter 4Watts. We are in the process of renovating our house and we have recently started moving in as we've been living in a rental unit on our property. Our house is primarily being renovated by my father 59M as he's worked in construction for ages. We do the planning, design, and I do all the technical stuff associated with the house. My wife's parents both live out of town, 3-4 away by car train. My mother-in-law 64F visiting us for a week or so, both to meet our baby daughter, but also to help out with the move and to spend time with our oldest daughter. My mother-in-law is unfortunately diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer due to no fault of her own, a total freak cancer we've been told by the doctors. She's on heavy medication to keep the cancer in check and function somewhat day to day, but the cancer is incurable and inoperable, and the prognosis, while unclear, does say that she has limited time left with us. Traveling takes quite a toll on her, and while she visited recently, she had to stay in a hotel as we didn't have our house ready yet, so staying in the rental unit wasn't possible. Before that we had no visits from my wife's family for just about a year. The situation: the day after my mother-in-law arrived, my mother 60F called me and asked to a few hours time with my older daughter this week despite us having my mother-in-law visiting. On our normal weekday routine, my dad picks our older daughter up from kindergarten since they live a short 5 minutes drive away, and she stays with them from 3-5ish after kindergarten before I return home from work. This past week my entire parents' household has been COVID positive and we haven't been visiting to make sure we don't get my mother-in-law sick. This made my mother miss our oldest daughter and prompted her to ask for some time with her, despite them still having COVID symptoms. When I replied with her having access to her granddaughter on a daily basis as part of our normal day-to-day routine, not even mentioning to her that they can still be contagious, and that my daughter should see her other grandmother while she still can, I was met with "you only think of us when you need something," and a hang up. Suffice it to say that I was pretty shook, offended and saddened that my mother shows so little compassion for my mother-in-law. My wife and I have been discussing the outburst, and we've realized that my mother has been possessive of my daughter every time we've had visits from my mother-in-law, even when we've all met together. Now I know my mother can be both possessive, manipulative, and explosively emotional. These character flaws have caused many conflicts between us over the years, but we've always been able to talk it out. However, every other conflict was about something more esoteric. This time she's making a stand on a very concrete thing. AITA for doubling down? AITA for not sending my husband $500? I apologize in advance for this being long. My husband 59 and I 53 have been together for 10 years, married for 8. My kids and I started staying with him about 3 months after we met. He was behind on all of his bills, and I ended up taking over all household expenses except the mortgage $550 mo. I had a decent career, and could almost afford to do this. But I did lose my small house because I couldn't afford to keep it and pay the other expenses as well. When we married, he filed a quitclaim, legally adding me to his property deed. Last year, he was offered a job 2 states away. The kids were grown and moved out, so I resigned my position. We sold the house, and have been living in a travel trailer in campgrounds in our new state. We used the proceeds from the sale to buy 2 decent used vehicles, the older model camper we live in, and put the rest in a savings account in my name, because no bank will give him an account due to past banking history. The plan was to use this to buy property in our new state, when we find what we want. I found a job making much less than my previous, and net about $700 every 2 weeks. His hourly is 212 times mine. He still pays no living expenses, and I have had to use a bit of our savings each month to keep everything paid. Lot rent alone is $800. He has recently started his 4th job since we moved. A month after getting his 3rd job, he told them he was looking for a new one and they let him go. He had nothing lined up, and has gone 6 weeks with no paycheck. I put fuel in his truck and bought him tobacco, and of course kept the bills paid. Friday morning I was leaving to visit my kids in our home state. After leaving for work, he texted and told me to leave him $100, and that he would be paid Monday. I don't carry much cash. Knowing at most he only needed fuel for the 30 miles to work Monday morning, I left the $15 I had and headed out. About halfway there, I got another text message that said they were holding his first check, and I needed to give him $500 for the week. He got very angry when I did not turn around and go back to give him cash I didn't have, and told me to stay the F up there. When I got to our home state, I sent him $175 of the $200 in my checking account via Western Union, because it was an instant transfer versus 3-4 days from a bank account. He called and cussed me out, saying it wasn't enough to get him through the week, even though he's only working 3 days due to a holiday. He again demanded I send him $500. I said $190 should be plenty for fuel, and he again told me not to bother coming back. He said that since I blew $500 over Labor Day for my share of airfare, hotel and rental car to travel with my 2 oldest children 30 to attend the unexpected funeral of their father, I owe him that much from savings. AITA for refusing to send him more than he could possibly need, and almost as much as I bring home in 2 weeks, knowing he isn't paying any bills. AITA for not telling my brother I got engaged over a year ago. So, this is obviously a throwaway. Also I am dyslexic, so tell me if I need to fix anything please. I 29F have an older brother 32M, we were raised by a single mother, and don't have any extended family, so we grew up pretty close. I moved across the country 11 years ago to attend college, then stayed in the new state because it has better job opportunities for my field. My brother, on the other hand, remained close to my mother. 8 years ago he introduced his girlfriend to us over Christmas, and also told us that he got engaged. She asked me to be a bridesmaid and I accepted, but when she told me that their wedding date will be close to my finals, I warned her that I might not be able to do everything she needs me to do. She was very sweet, and said that that's okay, she just wanted me to be involved. 3 months before the wedding, my brother called me. He said that my lack of involvement and enthusiasm for being a bridesmaid was stressing his fiancée, and that they decided that I should just be a normal guest. I said that was fine, apologized to him, then called her to apologize too. Fast forward to when they finalized the seating chart, and apparently I was seated in a back table, with some of my brother's co-workers, not even close to the family table. I was upset when Mom told me, but didn't want to make a scene. My mom on the other hand demanded they change my seat, which resulted in me being uninvited. I remember my brother telling me that his wife deserved the wedding of her dream, and that I was stressing her. I asked my mom to back off, didn't go, but still sent a congratulations text and a gift. But I also stopped reaching out to my brother, and it became obvious that I was the only one keeping us in contact. We rarely met after that, mainly because they spent holidays with his in-laws, and then COVID hit. I met a man during COVID, we hit it off, it became serious, and he proposed last year. I asked my mom to only tell my brother if he asked about me, and she respected my wishes. Also I don't have social media at all, so there was no announcement or anything like that. We just set out invites, and my brother got his, and for the first time in years, he called me upset, because I didn't tell him that I had a serious partner, let alone a fiancé. I let him rant and rave, then just told him that it was not a secret, and if he bothered to ask me or my mom about my life, we would have told him. He said that I should have reached out to tell him, but I said that I did not want to stress him or his wife with my presence. He called me and said they would not attend, too, which I said it's your choice, which made him even angrier. So AITA for reconsidering being a maid of honor when my friend won't allow my 3-month-old child at her wedding. I 31F was asked a few months ago to be my friend's maid of honor for her wedding, which will be held in August 2024. I accepted on the proviso that she was aware that my husband 35M were trying for kids and, depending on when we conceived, I may be pregnant or have recently given birth, which means things may change. She accepted this and said she understood. Fast forward, we conceived in August 2023 and baby is due May 2024. This will be our first child and both my husband and I are elated as we were told that fertility may be a long road for us, as I have reproduction issues. My friend told us that her wedding is strictly no children, no exceptions will be made, including my child who will be 3 months old at the time. When she said this to me, I found her behavior to be quite smug, and she looked directly at my stomach when she said it. She has made other comments about how she can't wait to have a child-free wedding as they take the attention from the bride. The wedding will also be interstate, roughly a 4-5 hour drive away, and we have no family in the town who could help us. Discussing this with my husband, We both decided that it would be easier if he didn't attend, as neither of us are comfortable leaving a 3-month-old child with a stranger or a family member, as it will be more than one night we are away. Whilst we are both a little sad, we respect my friend's wishes of a child-free wedding. I told her this the other day, roughly 10 months in advance of the wedding and prior to any invitations being sent out, and I got an upsetting message back, basically saying that they want us both by their side as they get married and they don't understand the issue as baby will be 3 months old. I am now considering not being Mo because of this comment and because of her behavior. I also worry I can't give my friend a good experience of being Mo if I am being called away to feed baby, comfort them, etc. So, AITA for refusing to get in the tub after my husband stood in it with his outside flip-flops. My husband and I are on a trip at ABB with a clawfoot tub. I am a very clean person, and generally paranoid about cleanliness standards of hotels, so I've sort of trained my husband to wear flip-flops in hotels versus bare feet. We also wear flip-flops into showers, or tubs that we don't plan to bathe in, but apparently he thinks this applies to a tub we are about to bathe in as well. Tonight, we decided to bathe in the tub. He was about to use soap to wash the tub before the soak, but I noticed he'd worn his flip-flops to shower in the tub. These flip-flops have been out on the streets. The amount of germs and trash they brought made me 100 sure I wouldn't be taking a bath there, but he got upset at me instead. According to him, I'm making up new rules. I don't think I did, because this is implied. It blows my mind that he thinks differently. Am I off for thinking this? I think he should apologize for ruining a relaxing bath. He won't, because he feels that he didn't do anything wrong, and blames me for changing rules. So AITA? Added to add, thank you all for your judgment. I'm seeing a consensus that I'm TA. Reasons my logic for cleaning practices is unclear. My germophobia would be improved if I actually learn how they work and how they impact the body. I should react more productively to my husband's mistakes when accommodating my special standards. I also saw multiple messages to get therapy. I don't think I need it. 1. It's really not impacting my life or my husband's life that much. No need to extrapolate our life from this one incident. 2. I know I need to chill about germs and cleanliness. I'm going to talk to my husband about what makes sense and what doesn't, and will be clearer and more fair than before. AITA for refusing to have a fully child-free wedding. So I recently proposed to my long-term girlfriend, and we are planning for a wedding in summer next year. Everything is still very early stages. My fiancée has expressed that she wants a child-free wedding, which I am all down for, but I want to make one expectation. My son 15M. I had him from a previous relationship and we have evenly split custody of him. Until now my fiancée has gotten along great with him. We've had days out as a family. She's gone to see his games. He plays ice hockey, and she's even taken him out on fun days, just the two of them. I brought up that I wanted to make an exception to the no kids rule for my son. She shot the idea down straight away and said that she didn't want anyone under 16 there, as she doesn't want to feel like she or anyone else has to babysit on her special day. I told her that no one would have to babysit him. He's 15 and she knows he's well behaved and a generally quiet kid. She then changed her reasoning and asked why I wanted my old family and life on the day I was supposed to making a commitment to her and our new family. I told her while I will be making a commitment to her, my son will still very much be my son and my family. She then equated it to wanting my ex at our wedding, which I do not and never asked. I told her that I don't care about the aesthetics of the wedding, and that she can pick everything else, the food, the aesthetic, the music, the dress, but all I want is my family at the wedding, my parents, my sisters and my son. That is my only ultimatum when it comes to our wedding. She started calling me controlling by giving me an ultimatum and said I had initially agreed to a child-free wedding and now am gaslighting her. I said we can have a mainly child-free wedding, but with this one exception, an expectation that guests can't even complain about being unfair since the only child is the son of the groom. She called me a dick and is now not talking to me. I really think this is a reasonable want, but maybe I'm not seeing something. So AITA for reminding my brother 42 meters how old our mom was when she died. After he mentioned trying for a child, my mother and father had my brother at 20 but waited on me until they were 40. My dad died a few years after that because of health problems. My mom also had a long line of issues between and her family that resulted in immobility and lack of capacity. I was never really a kid because she needed someone to care for her and we didn't have the money for outside resources. She died when I was 19. Because I want fair judgment, I'll admit I'm resentful of my parents for having me when they did health-wise, not age-wise. If they did not have so many health issues and had me at 40, I would feel differently. The roles just felt reversed. Maybe that's clouding my judgment. Many of their issues were genetic or a combination of genes with also negative health choices. My brother is now 42, in similar health as they were, and has expressed no desire to change or take steps towards reducing his risks of certain diseases. Him and I do not talk much, and when we do it's very quick. He told me recently his wife and him were trying for a child. I didn't say anything because I didn't know how to reply. He later texted me what was wrong. He said to be honest because it was clear I didn't like what he admitted, and I told him both our parents died very young because of health reasons. I don't say that to scare him, but I was barely adult when mom died of things we are susceptible to. It's not up to me and he can do what he wants, yet consider how tough it can be to lose parents at such young ages and the impact it can have. There was no reply, but both his mill and wife text me to say my mom was a brave woman and I need to get over what happened because she loved me, just like my brother will love his potential child. My brother wasn't around when our parents became very sick, so I don't think it had a similar impact on him. AITA for telling a co-worker she isn't Native American? I was speaking with co-workers and the topic of a nearby town came up. The town has a difficult to pronounce name and my co-worker made a comment about what kind of idiot came up with the name. I pointed out that it was a word as from a Native American language. My co-worker replied with, well, I'm allowed to make fun of it then. I'm part Indian, Native American. My co-worker appears very white. From what she has told me, her family has lived in the same rural area for years and this is the first time she has mentioned anything about this. Curious, I asked her what nation she was from and she said she had a Cherokee ancestor. I asked if she is registered with a Cherokee tribe and she says no. I asked who the ancestor was and she said her great-great-grandmother was a Cherokee princess. Here's where I might be the asshole. I am white and know very little about Native Americans, but I do know that white people love to claim to be Cherokee without any evidence to back it up, and that the Cherokee Nation doesn't have princesses. I know this because my estranged aunt used to say the same thing while everyone else in my family said they had literally never been told about indigenous ancestry. A DNA test of another aunt proved this later on. We're just white. And this is where I might have been rude. I tell her that the Cherokee don't have princesses and she's probably wrong. She got really defensive and insisted it was true. I told her that lots of white people claim to be Native and aren't, and that with DNA tests there isn't really an excuse not to look into it. Needless to say, the vibe became awkward quickly and this coworker has been ignoring me since and seemed pissed at me. Another coworker said I should have just let it go and not said anything. My reasoning is if she's going to say I'm Native American so I can make fun of them, she better be damn sure she's actually Native American. And if she is Cherokee, I feel like she still can't make fun of a different tribe's language anyway. So AITA? X200B edit for clarification. I do understand that are a lot of white passing indigenous people, which is what I originally assumed and why I asked for more details because I thought she might like to share. I thought she was going to say she was from the tribe whose land we are on. She was making fun of. We do not live anywhere near the Cherokee people's original land or the current Cherokee Nation. I did not expect her to use the Cherokee princess line and by then was mad at her for being insensitive about the language thing. X200B edit 2. Holy shit. Thank you to everyone who is adding their perspective. I appreciate it. And to anybody who is saying I should worry about HR, I don't plan to bring this up again and I'll report any disrespectful comments in the future. This is probably my fault for how I wrote it, but I promise the conversation was very casual until the princess part. I was genuinely curious and she seemed happy to share her answers. We aren't near the Cherokee Nation. I live in New England. I know there are white passing people with indigenous heritage. And to clarify, she was not insulting a Cherokee name. I think I might be stupid and I don't know what DNA tests are. I thought you submitted them, got some results, and started building a family tree from there. Look up records. Fact check. Apparently this is genealogy and is similar but different. So I'm dumb. After reading your comments I realized saying DNA test came across very disrespectful. That was not my intention, but I recognize that many of you interpreted it that way and I apologize. I also did not realize there was an representation of Native American DNA in the big name DNA testing companies. Also, a lot of people think I'm a white woman. Truly, I'm flattered, but I'm just gay. AITA for telling my friend people will treat her as a slut if she portrays herself as one. I have a friend I met at college. Initially we were interested in each other romantically, but I decided that there were some traits of hers: constant need for male validation, obsession with a toxic ex, constantly posting racy thirst traps on social media for male validation that made a relationship not in my interest. so we settled into being friends with the occasional tryst here and there. She has the juxtaposed traits of wanting a real relationship where she's liked for her personality rather than her body or sexuality, yet constantly portraying herself sexually and being sexually forward. I think doing the latter is shooting herself in the foot with the former, but whatever, not my business. This weekend she came to me crying and said she was tired of guys only hitting her up for sex, not seeing her for her, etc. I tried comforting her, but she said even I only relegated her to being a friend and FWB, and asked why nobody ever cares about anything but sex and only sees her as a slut. I tried just telling her she'll find the right person, but she demanded an answer, so I told her honestly that the way she portrays herself is very slutty. Every one of her Instagram photos is her half naked. She dresses very revealing on a day-to-day basis. She tried having sex with me within an hour of knowing me, and 90 of what she talks about is guys she's having sex with. When she portrays herself in a way that's primarily defined by her sexuality, of course that's how people will see her. As an analogy, I like soccer. If I wore a Barca jersey every day, only posted on Instagram about soccer, and brought it up every time I talked to somebody, of course people would see me as that soccer guy. Same idea here. She got angry at me for slut-shaming her and left. I don't think I was being unreasonable here. AITA for uninviting my oldest daughter to Christmas over Santa. I 43F have children with very large age gaps. My oldest is 25, that I had with a high school ex. Then we separated, and I married my husband much later. My younger two are 9 and 7. My younger children believe in Santa, while my daughter's son doesn't. She raised him not with the Santa magic, which is perfectly okay. I just rather not have it ruined for my children who do believe in Santa. I was having Christmas at my house and I asked my daughter if she'd please talk to her son, because I wouldn't like the magic ruined for them. I still put packages under the tree with "From Santa" on them, and leave out cookies and reindeer treats, bird seeds. My daughter told us she wouldn't make her son lie, and my children are old enough to understand if her son decides to say something. I told her if she wouldn't talk to her son, they could spend Christmas at their apartment. My daughter didn't like that and said I was choosing my younger children's happiness over hers, and that I was being completely unreasonable. My husband supports me but thinks I might be being a little high-strung as our children are getting older. I just want to keep the Christmas magic alive. AITA friend is now ignoring me after concert. So my friend and roommate asked me if I'd go to a concert with her and I agreed to. We'd been wanting to see this artist for a while now, so a month before the concert she invited a mutual coworker to the concert as well. I didn't mind at all. So here's where things got weird. Every day she brings up her coworker to me at the strangest times. She'll interrupt our conversations or a movie I'm watching to bring her up. I just ignored it. So about 3 weeks before the concert she tells me that she and the coworker have picked out a section and tells me which seat to buy. This already upset me because why was I not included in this process? But I ignored it, not wanting to be petty, and bought the ticket. Now we're at the concert. She and the coworker are talking the entire time while she probably spoke to me three times, and each time the coworker interrupted and she would just start talking to her instead. At the end of the show we get up to leave. Everyone is directing me to my right. As I'm waiting for it to clear I hear the girl next to me say, "Your friends really just left you." So I look to my right and sure enough they're going the opposite way and no one even tried to tell me. Anyway, I get out of the arena and spot them. I think they'll have the decency to wait somewhere for me or at least look around. No, they continued to walk and never looked around or anything to signal they were looking for me. I stop for a few minutes still thinking they'll stop. They don't. So I decide to just walk to the car. It's when I'm literally halfway to the car, so about 5 minutes later when she texts me asking where I'm at, then says they're in a bathroom. There are about 10 bathrooms in this arena, and besides, why wasn't I told earlier that that's where they were headed? I tell her I'm at the car and now she's saying they're lost and can't find the car. I tell her I don't know how to give the directions because I'm not sure where she's exactly at, but that it was near the porta potties had passed earlier. She then gets frustrated and demands me to send my location rudely instead of asking. I'm standing by her car in 20-degree weather with men catcalling, people running past me, and cars speeding through to leave for almost 30 minutes. When they finally appear, they don't apologize or even ask if I'm okay. They just laugh and hop into the car. The entire car ride I'm silent and just staring off in the distance while she begins to drive manically at the direction of the co-worker. After witnessing a terrible crash she pulls over and lets the co-worker drive her car, a car she refuses to let her sister drive and has never let me either when we've gone out of town, claiming it's cause we're not on her insurance. She had just told me the girl can't drive and it's safe to say that she can't. Now it's 2 days later and she still hasn't acknowledged what happened. Instead she's just ignoring me, so I'm doing the same. I just feel my safety was put at risk twice that night. Am I being petty? AITA Mill blocked us. Now pretend like nothing happened and we're not having AITA, my husband and I have been together about 15 years and have 2 kids, and for the most part my Mill and I got on well enough. She's always favored her other kids over my husband, but things got a lot worse with her behavior after Phil passed away. She would continuously put my husband and his grief down and refuse to acknowledge anything that wasn't about her. She was always like this, but without Phil too. Phil to balance her out, she got too hard to handle. She insinuated I couldn't be trusted and I wasn't part of the family after I had done everything I could to support the family. She's always tried to make every event about her in some way, or just been really difficult in attending anything she's invited to. She even made remarks about me the day a very close family member passed away, and just in general ignored the fact we were grieving again. It all came to a head on a special occasion for one of our kids, where she spent the entire weekend being rude to my family and complaining about literally everything. I also overheard her on the phone saying cruel things about my husband to her friend. When she was called out in it, she proceeded to block everyone in my family and badmouthed us to people on her side of the family. After about 4 months, she just decided to start randomly messaging my husband the most random mundane things, and acted as if none of it happened. He hasn't responded to any of it, and I'm not keen on having contact again, but he would like her to have a relationship with the kids again. I feel very strongly that I need to see that she's taking steps to work on her issues before allowing her near my kids again. AITA, if I refuse contact? AITA, that my friend exposed my fiancé for stealing my dream wedding date. I 27F dated Dave 30M cause I like the way FK Dave sounds. His real name doesn't have the same ring to it. For 2 years before we broke up early 2021. He had cheated on me with another woman. I heard a while back he got engaged to a different woman, but I've been long over Dave, so didn't really care about it much. One thing about me is I love springtime, and I don't have like a huge binder or even a Pinterest board on my dream wedding. All I know is I want to get married in spring, specifically on March 20th. Where we live, it's the time when spring is in full bloom and it's not too cold or hot to have it outdoors, and even indoors is a great option if you choose the right venue. I haven't told many people this, maybe my sisters, my friends, and Dave. Before we broke up, Dave and I had discussed marriage, and I told him about my dream wedding date. He was hesitant about it cause his mom has allergies, but as it was just a discussion, I told him we'll work out a solution when the time comes. About a week ago, I hear from a friend about a joint Instagram post him and his fiancée made. I've blocked Dave and don't follow his fiancée either. It was a picture of Dave and her holding hands, showing off her new engagement ring, and underneath in the caption it read March 20th, 2024. To say I was shocked and hurt would have been an understatement, but what was I to do? It wasn't like I could sue him for stealing my dream date, but it really sucked that he'd hurt me like this after all he put me through. So I did what any sane person would and wallowed in self-pity. That was till I got a call from unknown number 2 days ago. It was Dave and he was pissed. Apparently one of my friends commented under their post about them stealing my date. I don't know exactly what the comment said, but his fiancée saw it first and my friend to elaborate, to which she explained that March 20th was the date I always wanted to be married on, and well, to cut things short, our fiancée didn't know and lost her SHT. She was extremely angry with Dave and things had gotten to the point where she wanted to call it the engagement. Dave called me screaming how dare I try to sabotage his relationship with his fiancée, and I didn't own the date, and some incoherent stuff while yelling it's just a date, it's a date over and over again. I tried to talk, but Dave wouldn't even let me get a proper sentence in, and finally had enough, saying, Dave, you did this to yourself. Not me, not my friend, not your fiancé, but him, and hung up. I didn't need to block his number cause he hasn't tried to contact me since. His mom called my mom too, telling how I screwed up her son's happiness and that I should do the right thing by talking to Dave's fiancé and rectifying the situation. My mom obviously told her off with a few not so nice words, but now his mom and sisters having been going around calling me Dave's spiteful ex. I really didn't know my friend was going to comment on their post, but if I'm being honest, I'm not upset about it either. I was a teen when I decided on the date, and it was really special. Special to me. I would be lying if I didn't get some enjoyment out of this. So Reddit AITA for all this? AITA upset. My parents don't consider my adopted daughter their granddaughter. I adopted my husband's niece Sarah 9 years ago. While it was hard for Sarah to adapt at first, she loves us and is our daughter. She's an amazing kid and loves me and my family. I'm currently pregnant, and 2 weeks ago we found out it was a girl. When we told my parents, they were excited about their first granddaughter. It bothered me, but I tried to ignore it. But yesterday I had enough. Mom was mentioning things to pass down and I reacted stronger than I probably should have. But I was pretty mad. Sarah is their grandafter since she was 2. Luckily they didn't say it around Sarah, but I was not happy. We had a fight over it, with them claiming Sarah doesn't count and trying to justify it by saying she's from my husband's family, not ours. But she's my daughter, their grandafter. She calls them her grandparents. My sister is her aunt and my nephew is her cousin. If they don't accept Sarah, then there's no way I'm wanting them around either daughter. My husband thinks what they said was wrong but thinks I should let it go. He thinks it wasn't meant the way I'm taking it, but with his history he tends to be a bit of a pushover when it comes to family understanding, obviously, but still, and they haven't apologied. If anything, they've doubled down. I don't want Sarah hearing any of this. And if I can't trust them to treat our girls equal, then I can't trust them with them. Everyone else thinks I'm overreacting, but I don't agree.